For the last year or so, the state of Utah instituted a first-in-the-nation pilot program, allowing users to pay for their gas taxes by the mile as opposed to at the pump. What could go wrong, said the idiot. This charge by the mile tax is being primarily used on electric vehicles in the state of Utah, and as the demons say, it's to make up the income shortfall because of all the electric vehicles on the road and increased fuel efficiency. So you install this tracking device on your electric car and it bills you 1 cent per mile, up to a total maximum of $130.25 or so for the year. Just over 13,000 miles driven. The way that they sell this program is they say, well, if you drive less than 13,000 miles, instead of just paying the $130 or whatever at the beginning of the year to register your electric vehicle, you install this tracking device and just pay 1 cent a mile, as many as you use. This 13,000 mile figure is the amount that the average American citizen drives per year. So even if you drove half of that amount, you only did 6,500 miles a year, which is extremely uncommon. You would be consenting to tracking your every single move for the entire year to save $65. But just in case you're like, oh, I'm not worried, you beanbag, I don't live in Utah, the federal government is about to pilot this exact program. Signed into law than none other than Leaky Depends Joey Basement in the 2021 infrastructure bill. They'll soon be piloting this nationwide. But since everybody's dumb and nobody pays attention to history, I'm gonna stuff it up your dirt star real quick. First of all, for the 9 millionth time, we do not have a taxation problem in America, we have a spending problem. The people, the American citizens paying less money in taxes is good. And with more fuel-efficient vehicles and more electric vehicles, the average American citizen saving a few bucks on gas taxes is good. But instead of not squandering our hard-earned money on absolute garbage and nothingness, they're just finding another way to squeeze more money out of us through taxes. But this is the rub. They just take 1 inch at a time until sooner or later they've taken a mile because nobody pushes back. It's the frog in boiling water. That's exactly what they're doing here. Because like all things will be sold under the guise of saving the planet and paying your fair share, unless you're the president's son, it won't be long before these are in every single car in America, and they're mandated on every new manufactured car. You just watch. Which means that every single American citizen's road movements will be tracked entirely by the federal government. Those exact same movements will be weaponized against you in the future to say that you're doing too much of this or too little of that. And then eventually, under a tyrannical biomedical security state, not only will they just be tracking your behavior, but they will use this exact same data to limit your movement. Oh, you can't travel more than such and such a radius, you can't travel more than such and such a distance in a 30-day period. Of course, to save the planet under the guise of climate, or in a future health situation. Oh, you can't travel more than this distance. And of course, everybody's dumb, so nobody looks at places like Australia, where they quite literally set up security checkpoints crossing from zone to zone. And in certain cases, people lost their lives because a necessary surgical procedure or organ transplant was in another area. Unless, of course, you're the founder of Gagall, but let's just forget about that. Look it up. During the Clam Dem, the founder of Gagall was in, I think, New Zealand or Australia. His son or whatever, daughter needed to go to the hospital. And they're like, you can go, you're rich. But not the peasants. Anyways, so the road to hell is paved with good intention. And as the old saying goes, there's nothing as permanent as a temporary government program. Let me tickle your bag with a quick historical. In 1862, President Lincoln signed a new law that helped pay for Civil War expenses, becoming the nation's first income tax. And then after the Civil War was over, in 1913, this became permanent to make sure that higher income people paid their fair share. Sound familiar? Of course not, because people don't pay attention to things. Because in the not-so-distant future, and literally now, it won't be long before absolutely every single government program is sold to us under the guise of protecting the planet, saving the earth, preserving the climate, etc. And even when it has absolutely nothing to do with that and won't change it, won't benefit it at all, that will be the guise that they hide absolutely everything under. Because what this means is that every single American citizen who is already more surveilled than any living human person in the history of human existence will now be taking the primary transportation device and consenting to its complete tracking now and forever. And with the advent of electric cars and cars that are connected to the Internet of Things, not only will they be able to trace your every move, but they will also be able to limit your every move, shut off your ability to travel in and outside of certain ranges, and bill you as such. You will literally have an additional live homing device, tracking device on you, even if you didn't have a phone. Meaning that unless you were just physically on foot, which a human being can only travel so long in a certain amount of time, you will be surveilled, whether you like it or not. Because people just don't understand how these things are weaponized against them. They look at a feeble old man, they're like, that's my grandpa. Not understanding that he sits atop or right beneath the top of a really, really bad structure that will turn on you on a dime. So you got your phone already being tracked, no doubt about it. But let's say that you turn that off. A human person can only ride on a bicycle or on a non-motorized thing so far in one day. You can only walk so far in one day. All the flights in and out of the country, all that stuff, all tracked. Borders being secured to keep people out, but perhaps one day to keep people in. You put these devices on these cars, it limits your ability to move. Well, what else is there? Money. That's why they want to put in the central bank digital currencies. So they can track, monitor, manage, alter, and limit your purchasing behavior, much like they will eventually with this car program. And what isn't done through central bank digital currencies will be done through the credit card companies and the banking institutions. They're already tracking your behavior. There's already indicators and markers for the items that you're purchasing, whether it's gas versus food. And just like the natural progression of all of these things, in not very long, the long Pen 15 of the state will be micromanaging every move and purchase that you make now in perpetuity for the remainder of your life. And under that thumb of control, you better make sure you don't say the wrong thing or think the wrong thing. People fail to understand the pervasive nature of this program and where it's clearly going. People can barely see 5 feet ahead of them, let alone 5 years. They don't even realize that they're being sold a bill of goods that will continue to enslave themselves and future generations. Because even though you may like who's in control now, you may not like who's in control later. And once these types of programs are instituted, especially with people consenting to it and being willing to try the pilot to save $60, there will be a time where you can't opt out. There will be another health situation. And if they can limit what you buy, where you go, track your every move even further than they already do, it's only a matter of time before these things are tracking the food that you eat, the meat that you consume, the water you drink. You're talking rations of electricity and all the rest. And every single one of these programs will be sold under the veil of fake morality, saving the planet, the good of the group, the good of the gander. But really what you'll be doing is selling out yourself and future generations because you're too clueless to look what's right in front of you, what's happened in history, and what is only inevitable in the near future.